Hello, and welcome to Paranormal Police Reports. Many people throughout the world share their experiences of interactions with the paranormal world. For the most part, they, or should I say, we, are looked at with a skeptical eye and viewed as crazy. What about the cases that involve the same topic, but are found in the police logs as reported by the men and women in blue themselves? Before starting, most of the names have been changed. The show must go on. The Janet Quinney Lawson Capitol Theater, also known simply as the Capitol Theater, is located in Salt Lake City, Utah, and was built in 1913. It truly is a landmark for many performances throughout the years, ranging from operas, dances, and even film events. Many more venues occur or have occurred throughout the years, but something you won't find in the bill is the multitude of hauntings. A sheriff's deputy named Dave Murphy was given the job of making sure the building stayed secure. Dave had heard many of the reported hauntings before, but was quite skeptical of them. This was until one night he witnessed dark forms disappearing into walls and the door suddenly start to slam shut while he was alone. Later on, he heard disembodied voices, music playing, and the ghostly form of a woman standing on the center stage. Mr. Murphy even stated on a few occasions the ghostly woman, who he claimed was dressed in 1900s style clothing, walked by the doorway of the control room some nights. The shadows he had originally seen began to physically attack him in an attempt to get him to leave the building. Keyholder. I'll be reading this one word for word as the police describe it, and even though many sites have this case, I will provide a link to the page that has this version. Myself and a buddy on my squad reported to an alarm. The incident location was an old office-type building that had been converted to doctor's offices. There was a pharmacy attached to it. Our dispatch received a motion signal from an upstairs office. Keyholder arrives on scene and we go in to secure the building. The stairs were locked behind a door that, of course, the keyholder didn't have keys to, so he took the elevator up to the second floor. Not the most tactically sound option, I know. Elevator opens to a pitch black hallway, except for one overhead light at the end of the hall. We start checking doors, and so far all are secured. We get to the last office, and sure enough, the door is unlocked. We make entry and observe it to be an unused office. The door opened to a sizable waiting room and reception area. There were about 10 or 12 exam rooms, all cleared with no hiccups. We exit the office, and immediately something seems off. That is when I realized the overhead light at our end of the hallway that had been on was now off, replaced by another light over by the elevators. I look at my squad mate and he is completely white. I ask him what is wrong and he says, "Weren't all those doors we just checked closed and locked?" I tell him yeah, and so he says, "Well, now they're all standing open." Sure enough, all the offices down the hallway we had just checked were now standing open. Pucker factor sinks in at this point. So we start clearing offices and securing offices. We finish the last office, and on our way out, just before we turn the corner to get into the waiting room, the main door just slams shut. Then our radios start going nuts with some kind of static feedback. We get back to the elevator and head down to the first floor to make contact with the keyholder again. However, keyholder is nowhere to be found. I contact dispatch and request the callback number for the keyholder so I can advise him of what we found. Dispatch states that the keyholder was still en route to us and was advising an ETA of 5 minutes. I advised dispatch that we had already been out with the keyholder. Dispatch requests I give them a call. I call dispatch and she tells me that there is no way we were out with the keyholder. She states that the alarm company had only just made contact with one. Eventually, the real keyholder arrives on scene, and I ask him about the man that had led us in the building, the first keyholder. She asked me to describe him, and so I did. She states that that sounds like one of the doctors that used to lease the office on the second floor at the end of the hall. She then states that he had committed suicide at his summer home several days ago. I still won't go back there. The dead giveaway. An Oregon State Trooper, whose name will be referred to as Jim, responded to a call that a man was holding a gun to a woman's head. When Jim and his partner arrived, there was no one other than the woman laying in the grass outside the house. The woman known as Gail was crying uncontrollably, saying over and over again that, "He shot me, he shot me." After checking things out, there wasn't any blood or wounds indicative of her being shot. Jim informed her she wasn't shot and asked if she had any family nearby. Gail told him she had no family, and when asked if she wanted to ride back to the station, she refused. After Gail informed Jim that she would be alright alone, the officers left, being as how there was nothing to investigate and the house was empty. When Jim and his partner arrived at the station, they told their fellow officers of the strangeness of the call. The dispatcher looked up Gail's name and said it was the same as a woman who had been shot and killed 6 years prior with no arrest made. 2 years later, a similar call was received, and when Jim arrived, he saw Gail outside again, and she said, "There, he is inside." When the officers entered the house, they found a man on his knees with his hands in the air. After arresting the man, he confessed to killing Gail and that he had been plagued by her spirit. The man was sentenced to 20 years, and no further calls have been received from the house. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later. Before you go, remember that since all you are so awesome and have made this channel great, I was given the opportunity to have Audible.com as a sponsor. In case you didn't know, they are a company that you can download over 180,000 books on most all of your devices and range in all types of genres. If you click my link for it in the description below, you get a free book download just for starting a free trial. Currently, I am listening to Not Alone by Craig A. Falconer, which is a fictional story about a man named Dan McCarthy who comes across evidence of an alien conspiracy cover-up. The storytelling and different voices used really immersed me. If you're interested, click my link below and it will help me out and you get a free book out of the deal.